Electrician Live with your host, Paul Abernathy and Jay Grundberg.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Electrician Live. My name is Paul Abernathy, your host. As always, the hostess with the mostest, but tonight, you've all read the promo, you all know what's happening. I am excited tonight here on Electrician Live because we are introducing a new co-host to the show. And this co-host is, known him for a little while now. He's been through our Fast Tracks program. He's an electrical contractor. But you know what? Why not just get right to it? So without further ado, let's switch over. And I want to introduce to you Jay Grundberg. Jay, welcome to Electrician Live.
What's up, Paul? Thanks for having me, sir.
Yeah, it's great to have you here on the show and joining in with us. And so we're going to learn a little bit about you tonight since you are, I should say, you notice at the top of the screen is we have tonight's sponsor is Electrician Pride for all of your t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, phone cases, stickers, bags, whatever the stuff you need. electricianpride.com. I know that, Jay, you have taken part in Electrician Pride. You have purchased some stuff. Okay. So people that want to do so, there you go. So that's sponsoring the show for tonight. So without further ado, let's get into it a little bit. Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Again, give us a little background, a little bit of history on you, and share it with all of us.
Awesome. Yeah, so a little bit about my background in the electrical field is I started in 2006. I started in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I was actually a laborer. I was a day laborer, and I'd been at it for about 3 months, and this electrical crew, Red Rocks Electric, just offered me a job on the spot. They said, "Hey man, we've been seeing you around, you're all over the place, fired up, ready to go. We'd love to have you join us." And so from that day on, I started with them for a few years, and it was all commercial. So I did a few years of commercial electrical work with them, and then in 2008, I started juggling around, went to a few other contractors, and then it was a little bit of downtime from my apprenticeship to my journeyman's license. I got my journeyman's license in 2012. And once I got that, then I went out and I started chasing a little bit of the bigger money. A couple more opportunities opened up. I'm pretty sure we all
always going after the big money. I get it.
So I went in a position out at DIA, which is the Denver International Airport. And I got to work on their runways, which was super awesome. That was a good learning experience. And then from there, about 2014, 2 years later, I decided to take my master's exam. And believe it or not, I failed the first time. And so I re-signed up for a week later, studied more into the photovoltaics area, because I never did PV before. So it's kind of a whole new learning experience for me.
Right.
So I studied on that, and then took my master's, and maybe 3 months later, I went ahead and got my electrical contractor's license, and here I am, wired up electrical design.
Wow, there you go. Got into the game. So you say now primarily what your main thing is residential? Is that your main thing? You go after residential?
Since I started the company, residential is our main thing.
Main focus. Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So, I'm excited because Jay's going to bring to the table, and again, we'll tweak, and he probably can't hear it from my end, but when we have an internet connection, a little bit of an audio twinge in it. We'll get that worked out. But I think Jay's going to bring a good aspect to the show where he can bring a contractor, because, a lot of people hear me talk about what we're going to do when it comes to things like leadership, management, employee situations and things like that. And Jay has employees. He deals with this on a regular basis, so it ought to be great for future episodes to talk about those things and have different conversations. And of course, we have a viewer that's asking, and you might be familiar. Oh, I should mention this. For those that are over in the podcast, again, Jay will know that we actually have a podcast that runs. Again, Electrician Live was primarily focused on podcasting. And it's a podcast. It's a listen to it live from electricianlive.com or any of our other platforms. But again, we also have the video stream that's going over here on our youtube.com/Master the NEC. So if you're over listening on the podcast and you want to chime in and ask a question or something during the shows that we're going to do, then come on over to the video stream and you can get a more of a flavor of seeing it in action and ask any questions that you might have as well. So it gives you the ability to chime on in with us and interact with us. So, with that said, Jay, we're going to have some topics that come up obviously in future episodes that we'll get your opinion on, and we'll have good discussions on them. For an example, we might have a discussion on backstabbing. What's your company's policy? How do you feel about backstabbing and those type of things when it comes to terminations, receptacles and switches? Pre-twisting wire nuts, pre-twist or not pre-twist. Mm-hmm. Different topics like that. And then I believe that there's a side work issue that you want to take up with me or something. Something about an episode I might have done that talked about side work a little bit or something.
Sure, we can jump into that.
Yeah,
I was listening.
Go ahead.
So I was listening to last week's episode on side work. I wasn't able to listen to it live. I was doing something with the family that day. So I listened to it Monday, and I heard that we had a little bit of discrepancy on how you do side work and how I let my guys do side work. And, I think either one is up to the owner, obviously, and to allow them to, your apprentices or your residential wiremen, in my case, to do electrical work on the side. I'm all for it. I used to be, like I said, when I was doing my apprenticeship in 2006, I was making $9.50 an hour. And I had my wife and I were dating at the time, and that's when we brought our first child in. So it was almost like it was meant to be, to get into a field where you could strive and grow and continue to get pay increase. Almost probably getting $1 every 6 months or so, up until a certain point where we would just say, okay, but again, I started 50, so I know how side work was important to apprentices, especially those on the lower paying scale. Granted, when I did do side work as an apprentice, I did it with other journeymen that I was working with. They just asked me to go work with them on the side.
Right.
So then in our company, my guys, I have phenomenal residential wiremen, I have phenomenal leaders, and I have great up and coming apprentices that are just hands on and ready to go at all times. So I'm very fortunate in that case. So I give them opportunities. A lot of some of their side work comes from jobs that we're doing contracts for, and we're just so busy that maybe I allow them to do a side job here and there, and I just say, hey man, let me be a part of it. If you want me to, it's no different than if you're doing work for me for your 8 hours,
right?
Except for you,
So of course this brings up the topic again, like I had again, side work, and we'll obviously as we go on we'll have other different things to discuss. But for me, I always worry about the liability end of it. for you trust your people enough, and you are very involved in their training. I would think that the people that work for you would, the key that hinges it for me is the people come to you and tell you they have work. I think somebody doing some side work and not telling me about it and having it affect their normal operation Monday through Friday with me, because they work all weekend and they get worn out because they put in 5 days with me and I'm working them hard, and then they end up working the weekend and get worn out and then don't come in Monday morning or call in late or missing a day or two, because the short-term gain is something they're trying to look at and thinking that that's going to benefit them, but they lose the long-term picture, right? So I don't have a problem with somebody, as I've said in the previous show, I don't have a problem with somebody doing some side work as long as they come to me. The difference in us probably in this is I'm going to separate myself from it because, again, I don't want to put my license on the line. It's not so much my electrical license, but it's my contractor's license, which is what would pay me. I go to work for somebody as an electrician, but if I'm my contractor's license, I'm do my own work. And that's what you're really focused on. As long as, that's no different. And I understand what you're saying. As long as it's no different than the work that's from 7 a.m. till 4, whatever your hours are and during the week, that is no different, right? Mm-hmm. So it's no different. So you're like, what do I care if they're working during the week or they're working for their own side work on the weekend? It's no different. Now, I believe you did say that if you did that, because they are technically working under your company, even though they're doing their own thing. What about if there's permits? Will you pull permits for them, or will they? Because they can't pull the permit unless something's different in Colorado. Or do you tell them the homeowner's got to pull the permit, or will you pull the permit? If one of them get hurt on the job, will your insurance cover it? Do you at that point treat it as if it's yours, or where do you separate the line?
Yeah, so I do pull permits for the guys. I go and walk the projects with them if it's something that isn't related to a contract that we're already doing, that I'm already involved in, that I know about. So maybe we're doing, for example, a basement finish, and they're doing work upstairs. I like to keep that with the company. But if it's something that they have set up on the side that I have nothing, that I knew nothing previous about it, I'll go out and visit them on a weekend or after hours, and we'll schedule with the homeowner a kind of a pre-con, a job walk as we call it. I'll go over it with my guys, and I'll pull the permit for them. I'll kind of go over how we're going to do things, and that's why I get involved also financially, because I am involved with it. So it's not probably as large of a chunk as I would if I was doing it under my contractors, but also it's their work. So I'm just assisting them to get that work done professionally, and obviously with permits, we do things per code. We like to pull permits. We don't run from them. Sure. We like to pull them. We actually have really good relationships with the inspectors here in Colorado, more of the Denver area. But.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know that I have any problem with that concept, but you want to be very much involved with them. I think what differs with me is I don't. When they're working for me, that was fine. When they're not working for me, they're doing something on their own, as long as it doesn't affect me.
Sure.
Okay. If it doesn't affect me, then I'm okay. I'm like, you go at it. But the moment that affects me, you come rolling up in here 2 hours late on Monday morning because you were working your butt off all weekend, and you come to me and you go, oh yeah, Paul, that side job I did, I was working till 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm sorry. That's when you don't tell me. There's certain things you just don't tell somebody. And don't tell me. Just tell me you got up late or whatever happened. You couldn't get your kid to school or something. I'd rather have a lie than you to tell me. Especially, But my bigger thing is you had to come to me. You had to come to me.
Sure.
Incidentally, Jay, how old are you? Because we had a viewer ask what your age was. I know he looks amazingly young, like fresh from the womb. But how old are you, Jay?
I don't know how good that camera is. You can see the wrinkles around the eyes. Those are marks of the.
That's because you let your employees do side work on your license. See, that'll cause that.
Well,
all right, sorry.
That's true. I'm starting to get a little gray hair too, in the beard here and there. So call that hairs of wisdom.
Boy, really?
I'm
really? So yes, I'm just flooded with wisdom here.
flooded.
Definitely flooded with wisdom.
Yeah, for that viewer, I'm 36 years old. I was so I was born in '84, and I was born in the Pacific Northwest. So I was born in Olympia, Washington.
Oh.
I spent most of my childhood in Olympia, Washington, and then we moved down to Colorado, and then that's where I finished up high school. Took a year or so off, met my wife, and then things started rolling. It was like, okay, we got to do something.
Well, I understand that your wife plays a really key role with you in your company. That's a great thing. My wife does the same thing for me. She's phones and dealing with Electrical Code Academy. When I had the electrical contracting, which people know that I had a couple of electrical contracting businesses through the years. She's always been involved. She's actually been there in the middle of the night helping me hang trophers and luminaires and all kinds of stuff when the guys were like, hey, I got to clock out. And I'd call her up and she'd come and hand me things and I'd work late because, the owner is always the bottom line. If it's got to get done, it's always going to come back on us, So I hear, so she plays an intricate role in your company.
She sure does. Her role now is she takes care of the office paperwork, the billing, the estimating. Believe it or not, for residential, we have a great system that works for us. She schedules, but before she got into that role, like you said, Paul, with your wife, it was just her and I. When we went in 2014, I was doing a lot of the work myself. I was the only employee for Wired Up, so I'd do basements, and we'd stay late, man. We'd start at 7 and stay till 5 or 6, and she'd come hang out at times. And she was like, okay, how can I help? I said, well, let me drill some holes for you, and you can throw some wire in these plastic boxes and start helping out and get the project done faster. So she was actually my first apprentice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or Wired Up.
That's awesome. So now, did you do what I used to do to I did an episode out there that people listen to on what I used to put my apprentices through. Because you can imagine working for me, it was always educational moment. I couldn't help but teach something. So I used to go around the room and actually hang up a chalk line on where I want the holes drilled and snap it to teach them how to hold the drill. Because we used to Milwaukee's extensions and that's actually another topic we're going to go into, favorite brands of Jay Grundberg on future episodes, as we have debates about different brands like Milwaukee, Ryobi, DeWalt, Rigid, all those other things. And you might be surprised at one of my favorites, which people think is a consumer brand, but I actually have had amazing, even when we were contractors, we used to drop them off ladders, and that was Ryobi. You'd be surprised. But anyway, So we'll have those discussions, but yeah, it's awesome to see the family get involved. But I used to do that with my apprentices and to teach them how to get used to drilling straight lines. I was very anal about the way the work went in, that type of thing.
Sure.
I know it's covered up in the wall, but one of our viewers over here, and again, those that are over on the podcast, listen to the podcast, you can always come over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Master the NEC, and you can see some of the chats that's going on in the conversations. But one of our viewers posted a comment and said, why not offer a finder's fee? Instead of the contractor doing the work, if he's going to do it, it might be work that you can do. But say, rather than take that risk, why don't you just give them a finder's fee? So they're going to wire it for you. And rather than take the risk, you could say, tell you what, if it's I don't know if it's a $2,500 job, maybe you give them, $600, $700 finder's fee. I mean, and but again, it might be, I used to tell people sometimes the side work was work that wasn't at a level that was worthy of the company to do. It was, I had other things, agreements and contracts going on that it was purely side. It was smaller, addition or something that was smaller. And, people say, well, money's money. I'm like, yeah, but if I was in the middle of a commercial project, it wasn't as a focus on, but this guy wanted to do it on his own, then I can see where, your model might do it. But if you did have the ability and you do residential, if the guy said, I've got this job and a finder's fee and you pay him money for it and then your company does it. But, one of our viewers said that's an option, kind of an option.
Yeah, I can touch on that. I do hourly rate with my guys, so it would cause conflict with the hourly rate. And then how many guys would he be using from Wired Up, and how would I then have to pay them? So as far as the finder,
this wouldn't be him doing it himself. He would take some of your people to do that. Are they that close that they do work together and help me?
All the time, man. We're a pretty tight crew to where we keep a text.
So we're having the audio coming in and out.
We try to keep it.
There we go. He's back.
Nope. So
keep going. Tight crew. Do things together.
Yep. We kind of do all the side work that the guys do. The crew leads. They'll use the apprentices from Wired Up as well. But as far as doing a finder's fee, we have so much work during the week and contractors that we got to keep up to, especially around this time. This time we're as busy as we could be. We do a lot of basement finishes, so people want to get their basements done before Thanksgiving, before families come in, before Christmas, before the Super Bowl. Who knows if we're going to have one this year? But hey, they may want to get one done.
They say we're going to have an NFL season. I'm not a football fan, and I understand that you're a fan of this. What is it? The Seattle,
come on.
What is it? The Seattle Goose Ducks, or what are they called? I can't remember what that name of that team was.
Oh man, I knew it was coming.
So some football team up. I don't know. I don't think they've won in a while. Or something.
Yeah, they're a flying bird up there in the Northwest. If you notice, all my colors are kind of designed around that, and I stay in Denver, Colorado. So.
Speaking of Denver, so let me ask you a question: Is there people in Denver just selling marijuana on the street corners up there? Because I heard in Colorado, it's this pot everywhere. How do you focus with everybody just getting so high all over the place up there? That's what I heard. I've never been up there, but
so as far as the street corner hustle goes, that's long gone. You don't have to go to the neighbor or through someone to through someone and that. You just go directly to
dispensary.
The dispensary. Yeah, that's it. And
yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. I just knew that from research. Dispensary. Anyhow, so.
But believe it or not, my son, he does jiu-jitsu. So he does jiu-jitsu down on Santa Fe in Mississippi. So if you're in the Denver area, you'd kind of know those cross sections. And there's a certain point where you're driving in, you're going southbound on Santa Fe, and when you hit a certain point, it smells exactly like the marijuana because there's so many dispensaries and so many grow facilities that it's just common, right? Like you used to smell it and you would be surprised and shocked, but now there's just certain zones and certain areas in Colorado or especially Denver that you go to that it's just normal now.
Right. But you haven't seen any ill effects from legalizing it in the state? You haven't any, I guess, because I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I thought everybody was like, if they legalize it, it's all of a sudden going to be like drinking and driving, and everybody's going to be wrecking all over the place and all this kind of stuff. So,
no, not really.
I don't know. I'm not going to go back to my youth. Okay, never mind. Moving forward. Never mind. All right, so hold on. This is a very professional show. All right, so let me ask your opinion, Jay.
Sure.
Since we're here, backstabbing your receptacles. Do your guys or do you backstab your receptacle? Or your switches?
So again, when I was coming up in the trade, I did commercial, so everything was pigtailed.
Right.
We used 12 gauge wire minimum. Everything was ran on a 20 amp circuit, and you always pigtailed everything. Your neutrals, your hots, unless it was an EOC and a circuit, then you would just curl it. But the backstabbing, you couldn't do it in commercial because the 12 gauge wire wouldn't fit in the back of the receptacle. So it was, and I didn't know anything about backstabbing at the time. So we would wire nut, pigtail, strip, curl, screw down, put it in, walk away. So funny story, I started helping out a buddy of mine. Well, he became a buddy of mine. I started helping out a different master electrician at the before I got my master's, and I did residential with him on the side, and I was a journeyman electrician. And I go down to this basement, and I go, "What is this smaller gauge wire? What is this 14?" And again, I'm a journeyman at the time.
What is this 14? What is this little wire?
What is this small wire that I'm dealing with? And then he would come in and out of a device box, a receptacle device, receptacle outlet. And I'm down there and I'm trying to find more wire. I'm stripping his wire. I'm wasting his wire because every box I go to, I'm pigtailing. And he catches me in the middle of it and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What am I supposed to be doing?" So that was a common practice for me in the beginning, was to curl my wires. And when I started Wired Up, it was a common practice too, until I started hiring some guys who knew a little bit more about residential than I did. Especially my project manager, Chris. He's phenomenal. He comes in and he goes, why are we curling wires? I go, why shouldn't we? What's the other option? And he goes, "Man, we stab." And he showed me it and how quick it was. And then we just started rolling. So yeah, we backstab for sure. There's that option on the device, and we use it.
So people, there's two sides of this debate, and of course, many people know I worked for NEMA and kind of intimate with the manufacturers. There's a lot of people that don't like backstabbing for whatever reason. Of course, if you got stranded, obviously you can't backstab with stranded. But I can be honest with you, and people have heard me talk about it before. I have absolutely no problem with backstabbing at all. The device is actually listed, goes through evaluation with it backstabbing. It's no different than using a Wago or Wago or whatever people want to call it, Wago device, push-in device, same concept, 2 contact points. What happens with these, the biggest problem with the backstab is that people don't actually look at the back of the device and see that there's a stripping gauge on it. And they either strip too much or they don't strip enough. And that creates the problem. Again, it's more like a 2 pieces of contact springs, and it literally pushes in, and it holds it. So the contact points on it are very shallow. But they do make the contact on it. The thing about it is, it all has to go through. I mean, it's all a matter of how you feel, because it goes through the same evaluation at UL. Or whatever third party, but you design it based on an ANSI UL standard. And then once it passes that, or compliance, and you have to test it, and it has to meet all the same tests as you would with the wrapping of the screw. So I've backstabbed and I've never had any issue with it. Some people do. And I've gone to service calls where I've seen, the problem is that people that wrap the screw as well, don't typically will torque it, but won't torque it. I mean, how many of your guys are going around with a torquing screwdriver? Because at the end of the day, they use a regular screwdriver. And every one of those terminations are supposed to be torqued to a specific inch pounds.
Sure.
So, value. And so at the end of the day, I've seen more receptacles burn up because the screw was wrapped and it was loose, and it caused an arc because it wasn't. What I can promise you that if you backstab, you at least making a positive connection. That doesn't mean it wears out, doesn't mean it goes bad, but it could, anything could, but I have literally no problem with the backstab. And it's everybody's preference. Now, I used to solder a lot of my joints just because it broke up the monotony of using wire nuts and things like that, which transitions me into the next topic. I did a podcast on pre-twisting wire nuts.
Sure.
And incidentally, wire nuts are a trademark of ideal for those that are like, oh, he said ideal. It's that's a trademark of them, but you have Gorilla Nuts that are King Innovation, and you have 3M, and I did a podcast on it. Many people will argue that pre-twisting means that if the wire nut or binding device or wire connector comes loose, that it creates a problem when you're troubleshooting. It creates a problem if it's using all neutrals, for example, and it's a shared neutral in a commercial building where you have a multi-wire branch circuit and you can put loose, and instead of having two 120 volts, you could end up with a 240 and you could burn things up. I get it. But the manufacturers of wire binding devices, wire connectors, don't care whether or not you pre-twist it or not. They're not evaluated to pre-twist, but they don't care if you pre-twist. Now, if you're going to solder, you got to pre-twist because you got to make a mechanical connection so that the solder alone doesn't hold the connection. But other than that, unfortunately, before I tell people, I'm a pre-twister. I twist all my connections. But the manufacturers of the wire connectors say you don't have to, and they're the experts. What's your thought on that?
Well, I've done both, and I guess it's all situational for me. If it's residential, and my guys can do both. If it's residential and it's only a few twists, I'll probably twist them together. But if I'm in a commercial application and I have a ton of lighting boxes I have to make up and I have to get it done in a pretty quick time and I'm on a lift, I'm probably going to not pre-twist, but I'm going to put one of those wire nut twisters on my drill, and I'm gonna put the wire nuts the wires all together, put that wire nut over it, put my drill with the twister adapter to it, and twist it on. And then as those 3 or 4 conductors start twisting together on the insulated part, I don't do this every time, but I've taken it off. I've taken the wire nut back off after I've completed it, and it looked great. Looks just fine. So I put it back on, and then I'll just continue that method. I won't take the wire nut off every time, but I'll just make sure that the first 2 or 3 are hitting the mark where I want them to be. And then from there on out, if I have a ton of lighting boxes that I'm twisting together, it doesn't have to be lighting. It could just be even circuit boxes where I'm making wire nut connections, twist connections. I'll use a drill, and I won't pre-twist them. So I've done both.
So I've never used any drill or any attachment. Most of mine are just use the old side cutters and make the joint, cut them off the proper length, put the wire connector right on the end of it, and go to town. Do I have heartburn whether or not somebody takes the conductors and goes straight into a wire binding device? I don't care. It doesn't bother to me. Either one. Some people will, oh my God, and I'm like, whatever. The products, as long as you're using a product within its listing, so I have seen enough, I've seen enough burn-up receptacles from both side wiring and back wire. I've seen enough, and I've been, master electrician since the 80s. I've seen enough, and I used to do nothing but service. A lot of, evening was my emergency service for our company. But during the day, we ran the bigger projects. But we didn't want to give up that money, and nobody wanted to do it. So I talked my family into having, me and my brother were the company owner, into having this service division. But then looking around, I was the only one that was interested in doing service, so I got stuck with it. But at the end of the day, the only problem I ever saw with the backstab was when it was done incorrectly. That's the only time I've ever really seen it have a problem. And you can do them incorrectly. But again, I've also seen side screws done incorrectly as well. Now, pre-twisting, like I said, for splicing, for junctions, it was just a habit to always pre-twist because that's what I did when I soldered my joints. I had to pre-twist. Sure. So it's just a habit. But if I was in a call somewhere and I was in a awkward position and I reached in my pouch and pulled out a wire connector and I were to just bring 3 conductors together, provided the wire binding device is rated for those 3 conductors, and then I would twist it on there. The way they're made, it's designed to cut into the conductive material and it holds it in place. The notion that it's just going to pop off, I don't buy into that too much, because if you're using it within the scope of the listing of that wire connector, it's designed to hold 412s or 314s or whatnot, and they're the same length. You line them up, you strip the right amount, you put it on there, it ain't coming off. It's just not going to pop off. It's in a box, so all junk splices in a box. So I don't have any heartburn either way. Again, some will agree, some will disagree. Again, it's their company; they can do whatever they want, right? It's their prerogative. So how is your relationship? Oh, you had something?
Yeah. So with the back to the devices, when you're curling them around the terminal on the device, like you'd mentioned before, you got to make sure that you do that horseshoe connection too, because if you're only going a quarter of the way and you screw that terminal down, you're not really making a great connection either. That screw should be able to wrap around or tightly. The wire should wrap around the screw, not all the way wrap around the wire itself. You don't ever want to take them and to where it's wrapping around itself, but you want to make sure that you do the horseshoe connection, because I've seen a lot of them too that it doesn't go all the way around, and it gets loose as time comes as well. So if you're going to put it around the terminal, make sure you're doing it right as well. And then also when you're troubleshooting and you're doing it hot and you're trying to take that screw terminal out, or the wire from the screw terminal, it gets a little tricky as well. Opposed to backstabbing, you can kind of just twist out when it's a hot conductor. So there's benefits to both ways. Yeah, I don't have a problem with either.
I am an advocate, Jay, so I can see we're going to have many discussions moving forward here on Electrician Live, because I'm an advocate on if you're pulling the wire out of the receptacle hot, you should have already done the testing on it. There's no reason for you to pull it out hot. Even though it's a trip back to the box to turn it off, turn it off. There's no need to try to do all that. But again, you're going to hear a lot about me when it comes to electrical safety. Okay. So anyway, so next topic is, how is your relationship with your local, with your electrical inspectors in your area up there? How are they? Are they easy to get along with? Have any trouble with them? Any of them that have the chip on the shoulder, or are they pretty good?
All in all, Colorado inspectors are pretty good. The ones I deal with in the Denver metro area. I primarily deal with Denver, probably north of Denver. There's a few jurisdictions that they know the contractors that we do work for, and they know us because we've been doing work for them for so long that, if there is any discrepancy, let's say on failed inspections, whether it's rough or trim, for us, it's very minor. It's a trip to go back out there and maybe, I don't know, put the right breaker in. Maybe we just put an arc fault breaker on the wash machine and we didn't put a dual function or something like that. It's very minor things usually for our company. So we've created a reputation for doing things, trying to do things the right way, and being proactive with the inspectors and what their amendments are too, because some jurisdictions have certain amendments. Douglas County, for example, if you're working in Douglas County, you can only have 4 receptacles on a small appliance branch circuit. Where if you're working in Denver, you can have, your half of your kitchen and maybe a part of your dining room. So you could have up to 6, 7.
So they have their own local rules, because that's not in the code. So they have their own local things. Now, if you get a violation, and I've got a couple questions that are on our message, our chat thing here, I'll cover in a second, but do they have to give you the violations? I mean, that's always been a big thing with me. When I was a head of jurisdictions, I would not let my inspectors fail somebody unless they could literally give them the code reference, because I didn't think it was fair. And since I spent a lot of time teaching them the code, I was like, it would bother me if you didn't know how to give them a code reference, because that would tell me you don't know the reference, and I don't believe you can fail somebody if you don't know the reference. So how is it in Colorado when it comes to rejection and giving code references in order to give you, the electrical contractor, direction on how to fix something? If you don't know what's wrong, you can't fix it. So do they give you any of that? There's a pause there.
50-50. It's
I don't know if he can answer that for fear of discrimination of his poor little inspectors there.
Oh no.
Okay, no. So do they give you, yes or no? Do they give you code references when they reject you?
Most of the jurisdictions do, and even it's not. I don't know if all jurisdictions do. I can't say every inspection we fail, we have a code reference to that failure. Denver's really good at it. That's why I really enjoy Denver. But as you know, I can fail one rough in Denver, fix that correction, have another inspector come out and fail me for that correction. So I've had that issue too, because different inspectors come out on different days. So again, you try to get a reference. The good inspectors will give you a reference, and the real good ones will kind of have a chat with you, either whether it's on the phone or maybe even email with them. But yeah, the good ones will give you a reference for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like when they're giving references. They need to give references, and if not, any jurisdictions out there that's listening, you want to make sure that you teach your people to give references anytime you're going to fail somebody. It should not be a situation where it's like, do as I say, and I'm not going to give you any reference because I'm the inspector. It's not how it should be. It's a symbiotic relationship between electrician and the inspector, and it should always stay that way. I do have some questions that came up during the chat, and one of the questions was about utilizing wire connectors like wire nuts, which are a trademark of Ideal. Okay, don't sue us, Ideal. And wait a minute, they're getting free promotion. They shouldn't worry about that. Anyway, so
send me a box.
They say send me a crate. So they say that somebody says that the wire binding devices, wire nuts, whatnot, or I should, in all fairness, say Gorilla Nuts for King Innovation, or 3M's wing nuts is also a trademark of Ideal. All of those things are a one and done, and I have not seen that anywhere on any of their literature. I have not seen that anywhere in the NEC. Screwing it onto wire and screwing it back off does not change the internal spring binding system that's in those wire binding devices. So whoever tells you that, for our listener, I would tell them put up or shut up and make them come forth with something. And you know what? A simple call to the manufacturer. Now, you got to worry because sometimes a manufacturer will say, oh yeah, because they want to sell you more, right? But at the end of the day, I had no problem reusing a wire binding device. I don't have any problem unless it just looked really bad and it was pieces broke off inside of it because somebody or whatever. Other than that, I had no problem with them. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't consider
reuse them.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. All right, so we're coming close here to the end, but I'm going to have this topic, and we're going to obviously have a pretty deep discussion on this in future episodes, and we're going to have some great episodes coming up where we talk about all types of topics, and you know what, we'll even have some code episodes where maybe I can teach Jay something, or maybe Jay will teach me something. I love to learn. But I am going to ask you, Jay, you went through a fast tracks program.
Yeah.
What do you think of that program? Be honest. Look, people, be honest, okay? Be honest, because it's not the easiest thing if everybody thinks it is. So what do you think? Tell me, Jay. What do you think?
Yeah, so I went through the Fast Tracks program in the intent to study for my ICC residential inspector's exam. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the whole goal with it. So I invested in the 2017 edition of the Fast Tracks program, and every chapter I started with Unit 1. And I was staying the course. I'd go Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. By the time I got to Unit 3, so let me also hold on. Let me show you guys something. So I was in the 2017 Fast Tracks program, but I was using this code book here, which is the 2020. So I'd already invested into the 2020 code book. So it was a little difficult, just because some of the format was different. So it was hard to give some references that I couldn't find. So I'd have to pull up my phone, because I have the 2017 edition on the phone app.
Right.
So that was a little difficult, but other than that, I was in the book. I was studying pretty consistently, and by the time I was into the Unit 3, I had to go out and buy more highlighters.
Hey,
I was highlighting the.
Jay,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. Your wife, she posted on Facebook.
Oh no!
It says you would fall asleep listening to me.
Oh no!
True? Is that true? She rat you out? Did you play my podcast while you're in the bedroom? And then all of a sudden you're going away. You wouldn't be the first. I get emails from people and pictures going down the road, taking pictures of me on their car playing the podcast. But so fess up. Did you listen? Did you fall asleep listening to any of my stuff? Did I put you to sleep?
There's been a time or two where I fell asleep with the earbuds in the ear, and maybe it was on your podcast, maybe it wasn't. So I don't know. I don't know where she's getting her information from.
I'm a boring old man. I can't handle it. It is what it is. I imagine many people have. Again, I get. It's a lot of pride in the fact that I get literally hundreds and hundreds of emails from people who pass their exams and everything from our videos and our podcasts and things like that. So it always means the more to me to see that and help think that I'm helping other people. And I try to make it a little different when I'm on a seminar circuit. It's shirt and tie and suit, and I've got to look a certain way. And I made it an effort since I started this thing with the videos, and I've been doing videos since 2004. People don't realize that, and podcasts that long. That I was going to be more relaxed. So during the day, I've got to be a different person than when I get to be online. So again, I get to open up a little bit, and hopefully I make the code a little more interesting. Your wife ratted you out, though. I put you to sleep, but hopefully I make it a little more interesting for many people to learn the code a little bit and maybe break it down a little bit for them so they can understand a little bit better.
So again, when I was doing the Fast Tracks program, I was really dialed in, and I would listen to podcasts, and that's what she's referring to. It'd be 11 o'clock at night. I would just get done with the schedule for the guys the next day, and I'd throw the earbuds in because again, when I go all in for an exam, I'm going all in. I'm not a halfway in, halfway out person. I'm all in. I did this with my journeymans. I did this with the master's exam, and I did it with the residential ICC electrical inspector's exam. So again, I was all in, and your Fast Tracks program was amazing. It definitely helped me. By the time I got to Unit 11, I'd already I passed, which was awesome.
Right, you already passed by the time you got to 11. So did you as other people that are in the chat like Tim and others in the program? So what'd you think of Unit 8, 9, 10, and 11? Those core units.
8 was a struggle. 8 was the hardest unit for me.
Yeah, it makes you think of calculations and stuff that you just take for granted, especially if you're not used to doing those type of things. But the breaking it down into the different parts, that had to be beneficial, where it teaches you every little piece in the little sheet and kind of give you an idea of, because you could have a situation where you got to do any little piece, and it's good to learn every little piece, that type of thing. Yeah,
the sheet helped with muscle memory too, or the process of it. You do 1 through 4, and just breaking it down like that. I actually had one of my apprentices come in. He was working on taking a test, or studying, for taking a test, his final at IEC Rocky Mountain, which is a local electrical school here in Denver. Okay. Actually, it's a little north, but he was taking an exam. So I brought him in. He said, "Man, I'm struggling on calculations." I said, "Well, I got the solution, or at least a way for you to understand it a little easier. So he came over and we dove in for it about an hour, and by the time he left, he felt pretty comfortable, and he passed his exam. So
It's awesome.
good.
So you're owner and now teacher. That's awesome. That's always a natural progression. We always teach. I always believe inspectors, owners, master electricians, journeymans, we all are teachers. Whether or not we want to say it or not, we have a duty to pass on our knowledge and help other people. And and again, there's certain people that revel in seeing other people fail, and then there's a class of people that rejoice in seeing people succeed. And that's the kind of people I'd rather hang out with, to be honest with you. So, but it sounds like you're doing everything right. So company's going great. Looks like you have a wonderful wife and a partner. And I understand you have some, I've actually seen them, some kiddos there, some small kids. One not so small. I believe you said one's 14.
He's going to be 14 on the 22nd. So.
And there was a bit of a break in there because you have one that is just a little rugrat, right?
Yep, she's 9 months. So our son Xavier is 14, and he was born in 2006, and that was the year that I had become an electrical apprentice. And now, being 6 years into owning my company, or our company, should I say, now we have a 9-month-old running around. So It's pretty awesome.
It sounds awesome, definitely. Well, I think I'm excited about some episodes that we're going to have, good topics. And I think all the viewers out there, if you're over on the podcast and you're listening and you want to get a flavor of the questions that people are asking and see out on the screen, I'll take a second to try to catch up on a little bit of these to see if we've got any additional ones. Have a lot of conversation about the mechanical splices, muse, and again, so it's always been for soldering joints. And I keep jumping back and forth. Promise you, all of our episodes are going to have bullet points moving forward. But this is kind of an introduction to Jay, so we're just kind of having an open discussion. But all of the soldering joints prior, even when you had knob and tube, which you still use a Western knot, it might not have been soldered. But most of the applications, anytime early that we did anything, and even now when I use, again, if I were to go wire a house tomorrow, I probably use wire connectors because I don't have the same amount of work that I used to have where I wanted to break up the monotony, and I like to do solder and wrap my joints. It just broke it up a little bit. And in some houses I just use wire connectors, okay, that type of thing. So I'll always like to mix it up a little bit, but again, nothing in the code says you can't solder your joints. They just have to be mechanically made up first. It means you have to pre-twist them so they can stay together. Other than that, you can't rely on solder alone, that type of good stuff. So,
teach your guys how to twist them. Even though the manufacturers for these wire connectors are telling you don't have to twist them, I would always teach the new guys how to twist them, get them going, get them involved. It's a good learning session too, as well, to make sure that they're twisting their grounds together, their neutrals and their hots. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the debate on MC cable. Do I use a rotozip or do I use my side cutters?
Well, have I got an opinion of that? Okay. So, hold on, I even have some good music for that one. No, I don't really, but I'm a believer. If you got the technology, you use it. So if I've got a rotozip tool to be able to make that job easier, make a clean cut and everything, I'm using it. I don't care what anybody says. I'm using it. Now, do I know how to snap it using my diagonal cutters? Snap it, cut off the point, do it manually? Absolutely. We learned that. But if I've got access to a roto tool, I'm using a roto tool.
All the time.
Yeah,
sure.
Bigger stuff, feeder stuff, you get used to using a hacksaw because it's just what you're going to have to do. But smaller stuff, absolutely. I'm going to do that. So I should mention, though, before we go now, you'll see above Jay's head, we have the donations going again for these screwdrivers. And you can make a donation, as it says up there, to get you one of these. It helps donate to the program and the upcoming stuff that we're going to be doing. And you can also do it from the website as well, or you can do super chats here during the live stream. You can always do that as well. Tonight's show, again, is sponsored by Electrician Pride. Okay, Electrician Pride for all of your shirts, stickers, all kinds of good stuff. As you saw here, my code book is stickers all over it. We got a bunch of different ones. Look, Jay does too. So great minds think alike. So
another quick thing for you, because I looked at your code book. Do you not use tabs?
Yeah. So I have my 2017's tab. When I'm teaching a code book in a class, it's two different classes. When I'm teaching, I like to teach people how to use the raw code book and not rely on it. So not have to rely on the tabs. So if I'm preparing for an exam, I tell people to tab. But when I'm doing something, I teach people, I teach them how to be able to thumb it and look at the top right corner to see what reference you're at. And so I try to teach somebody during the program. And again, I'm a big proponent of tabs, especially if you're going to take an exam. But when I'm teaching a bunch of electricians, I teach them how to use the top corner in order to, and then again, so that you also remember, and that's what I'm a big teacher of flashcards, so that I can make sure that 410s luminaires, that 400s cords, 310s conductors, 300s wiring types or wiring methods, chapter 3, 210 branch circuits. I teach them to know that so that they can whip through it. But, I haven't taken an exam in a long time. Now, my other code book with 17 is all tabbed out. Okay, because I used that with some students in a classroom before the COVID thing came. So right after January, when I started teaching out of the 2020, I won't tab this until we get back to classrooms and I can sit through a classroom, because I don't have a bunch of these. I'm not a guy that sells code books. So when I'll do a live class, I'll actually show them how to tab this book out. So I'm not going to waste it now for me, because I don't need the tabs, right? But when I get that opportunity, I will actually tab it out. Funny, we might do a show one day. You never know. I got multiple cameras here. We might do a show on how to properly tab your code book. Because there's a right way and a wrong way. It's a good question. Good question. You like how he's calling me out there, folks, about tabbing. See?
Tab your book.
Okay. You're going to take an exam, tab your book. Just don't over-tab it. Y'all have heard my video on that. Don't over-tab it. Don't over-highlight. All that kind of stuff. You know what? Next week, you might have a new co-host. I don't know. We have no
highlight
idea.
everything.
So, all right. Well, it was great show, Jay. I'm excited to have you on board, and I know we're going to have some really good topics coming up in the future. I know that we're going to have our weekly sessions, and I appreciate it. I know your schedule is super, super busy, and and I have so many things going on as well. But we're gonna make sure that we spend the time each week to be able to put together something so we can have a great show each week. I know this was going to be an introduction, kind of welcome you to the family here, and be excited about it. Is there anything else you want to share with everybody before we cut this show out? And also, again, we do the podcast, and sometimes we do the after show. So videos, we sometimes can, run a little longer, but the podcast usually tries to stay at about an hour. So, I'm telling him how we're doing this on live, so like we haven't had these conversations yet, but at any rate, so I'm looking for a good opportunity to have some good chats with you in the future. Is anything else you want to chime in before we wrap up the podcast session of this?
Yeah, I just appreciate everybody coming in and being involved with this tonight and asking the questions that they've asked me so far. And if they have any other questions, just jot them down and bring them for next Saturday. If we can get to them, we'll get to them. And we'll just learn more about myself. So if you do have any questions for me, feel free to put them on the chat and ask them, and we'll get to them.
Yep. Sounds awesome. Sounds like a plan. All right. So hang in there. We're going to sign off on the podcast, but hang in there and we'll do a wrap up on the video as well. So this is the end for the actual podcast. Again, everybody over the podcast, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, stay safe. God bless.
listening to Electrician Live with your host, Paul Abernathy and Jay Grundberg.
All right. Well, again, we're over with everybody that's on with us during the actual video stream. And again, hope it was a great show. And remember, Electrician Live is based on a podcast, and we do the video as a supplement to the podcast. So again, if you're those that listen to the podcast, we love to have you over on the video stream every week. And don't forget, we do exam prep typically every week on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I will answer your questions on electrical code. So, Jay, anything else you want to share with those? Again, you got some of your code strong in there. You got Brian and Tim and all those, and Elwood. And again, thanks to all them for coming. And Old Hogleg, I'm not sure who that is. This is new. Carlos, Gary's in there. Kevin O. And Ronbo came in, didn't get blocked tonight. Got you all fixed up. Ronbo, don't have you getting blocked out. We have Joseph, who gave a donation tonight. Again, thank you, Joseph. And so we got Joel in there. So quite a few of the regulars in there have joined us. Brian as well. And so again, come back each week, and it's great to have them come in here. And they were on the same chats that you were on before you now are the co-host.
Yeah, it was fun to be able to be involved with those guys, Tim and Brian and those guys. And I think they've had pretty dang good success themselves too.
Yes,
with the Fast Tracks program.
I think so. Again, they've stellar performance through the program and did really well. And it's not the easiest program. I'll admit. It's utilizing Charles Miller's book, and it was done purposely because obviously I write books for the Cengage. But we, not going to use a book that I write so that I can be objective about it when I'm answering code questions. And so that program, and we built it around that program using their LMS system. And the competency reviews are I think, killer if you follow them and don't give up on them. And in the questions at the bottom are just, people should be mixing in one of those every week if they can. I mean, time's limited. I get it. So, but that is the optimum way to do it. That's the best way to do that program. So,
yeah, you're definitely going to get out what you put in. You can't just purchase a program and not invest your time. You have to put that hour. I was doing it probably about an hour and a half at night, and it was when the wife and the child would go down to sleep. I would jump on, and that was maybe get a cup of coffee and jump on and just dial right into it, and that's where I found it was the best time for me because it was kind of nice and quiet, and I could get dialed in. I could have my code book and my highlighters next to me, and you have to have that hour and a half each time you do it to really get the success out of it. If you're just putting in 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there, you're not going to get what you deserve to get out of it. So,
yeah, what I tell people, you have to study with a purpose. You can't just randomly whip open the book and start trying to learn. It's hard to do, and especially to have any chance of having any real success in it. I mean, you might stumble through it and pass. But I tell people all the time, if you're going to put the money in it, you might as well get something out of it. You might as well retain a little bit. Or if you're just trying, there's two different people. Some just want to get the exam out of the way. And then some people want to get that out of the way, but they also want to learn in the process. So, and you have to cater to both because there's two different, people. Okay. So, but you definitely have to be devoted to it. Like Brian says, Brian's in the chat. Brian says, got to be dedicated, So I will say in your case, and I'm sure with everybody else, y'all seem to always put, family first, and that's amazing. That's a great thing. It sounds like you're a great a dad, a great husband, and I tell people all the time, I can't always come from that scenario because I know that through the years, my wife has tremendously suffered from me always putting electrical first. not the thing to do. You'll pay for it when you get older. But at the end of the day, it's all she knows for me, and that's all I knew, and that's all I've ever done. And so it is what it is. Hold on. Do I have any sympathy music? Hey, Jay, I don't have any. I need to get some of that music that goes, oh, I can play my sympathy music.
Like the violin.
Yeah, that's it. It's the best I got.
There we go.
It's the best I got. But no, I mean, you make decisions, but I think you're doing the right thing. And, you're always, and it looks like everything's going great. And again, I'm excited for you to be a part of this. And, you never know. You might, one day you might have the Wired Up podcast. You never know. You'll never know. Okay. But, or you could have Electrician Live when Paul dies or something like that. I am drinking more water lately. Ronbo would appreciate that. I'm drinking more water. And Ronbo, It is not from the tap, so I'm not being tainted by the government. It's filtered something from Kirkland.
I think mine's filtered too from my fridge. I don't know. It's in this cup.
Don't trust
this. This is water. Just so you know. It's not liquor. Can I drink beer? I don't know. Oh, who knows?
You're almost over 21, so you're okay. So, all right. So, I don't have anything else tonight. Again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in that joined us in the live stream. I am truly, excited to have Jay on board because I think we can have some really good topics coming up, and it allows me to bounce things off of somebody else. So it ought to be a good banter back and forth. You'll get, somebody with, I guess, so how many years have you been in the trade total?
Say probably about 12 years. 12
Okay,
to 13 years.
I've got some underwear that are that old, just so you know. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, so I get a fairly younger perspective, and because again, they don't always want to hear from the old fart. In my perspective, I've heard many times, Paul, you can only teach it because you can't do it anymore. Yeah, I've heard that before. Although I've always told people, you're in my area and you got the work, I'll pick up the tools. I still have the belt. Don't worry, I still got the tools and how to work them. Okay. So I am going to announce also tonight is if you don't have enough stuff on your plate, then I am extending you an offer to, and you can accept or not, to move through the CMECP program. If you're interested in partaking in that program, I will donate that program to you, and you will have access to that program if you would like to try to achieve it. It will be open to you is an invitation from me that was approved day before yesterday from, I was talking about it last week, but it was approved through my board of directors in order to be able to give you access to that. For anybody ever asked, Electrical Code Academy has a board of directors, and the CMECP, the Certified Master Electrical Code Professional Program, also has a board of governors, and everything has to be approved through them. So, and they were okay with it as long as I was okay with it, and I'm okay with it. So you can choose to accept that. If you choose to accept the challenge, it is, if you thought Fast Tracks was difficult, the CMECP program is not that it's code, but it's very hard to manage it with your time because you have 6 months to complete it. And there's over 20 exams. And it is it's pretty extensive program. But the invitation's open to you whenever you would like to take up that challenge. The good news for you is that it's very similar to the Fast Tracks program. It's just that the scoring and the grades and everything has to stay at an 80% average for the entire program. If you drop below it, you're out. And then once you complete it, you have 20 exams you have to complete, 3 final exams you have to complete, and then you have a one-on-one, you have a proctored exam And then you have a 5-on-1 peer review, 5 of our industry leading experts who have volunteered to work with us in order to bring you. And so and they will ask you questions and you have to answer, and you have to get it right. You can make it all the way to the end and fail the 5-on-1 and you lost it all. So it's interesting challenge for people that want to get it. So doors open for you. If you'd like to take that challenge, just let me know. Don't have to do it now, but whenever you want, just let me know. I'll open that invitation to you. I can, prerequisite is you have to be a master electrician. And you are, and you own your company, so you meet that requirement. Brittany's already looked that up anyway. She already looked into you anyway. And so you met the requirements. So Brittany,
hopefully she didn't do an extensive background check on me.
No, I told her to stop when the stuff got really dicey. I said,
yeah,
stop. Right, I said, stop, But
I don't want to go back to the elementary days when I stabbed that kid with my pencil. Or blew a spit wad at him. Poof.
Hey, that's nothing. Yeah. So that's nothing. So yeah. So again, think about that. But again, I'm excited to have you on, and I think you'll do some great stuff. So again, anything else you want to share? We're gonna end this stream. And anybody in the stream got anything to say? More than happy to. Your wife says you are hardcore, and I believe it. And that's what I like to see, and that's what made my decision. I think we got, I can't remember, Darlene would have to tell me, but I think we had 15 or so people that was interested in hosting. And I had the luxury of talking to you a couple times prior, and it was your passion that I felt like that it, it's so cliche, but what did people say this? Is that I saw myself 25 years ago, and I was like, okay, there you go. There's somebody that has that same drive and passion that I had as contracting and in business. And so that's what made my decision. So I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm very honored, Paul, for being here and for getting this opportunity. And also just the kind words and moving forward. My goal is to continue learning, to continue to strive, to hit that mark every time, or at least be close and never stop. So for those who are still listening, I will answer Paul's question on that CMECP program next week.
Oh,
so if you're thinking I'm going to take it, you don't know. I might not. So
Cliffhanger. Hold on.
Stay tuned.
We have cliffhanger. Hey, just to not scare you, but we've had. Oh, Darlene just told me the other day. It was. She told me the other day. I think it was close to 100 people, or 80, whatever it was, that have gone through the program that have failed, and only 17 or 18 have made it through it. And not all of those have actually made it through the program. They were people of industry that I gave honorary CMECPs because I've worked with them, or I know them, or I can attest, and I had to go in front of the committee and had to actually attest to it, right? I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt that I'm CEO of Electric Code Academy, right? But they still, again, if you're getting this off, and y'all can't see this, Jay can see it, but hanging on the wall back there is the trademarks that we have for the CMECP. My engineering degree is above it, but on the right side of it is the other one we have for the whole name, Certified Master Electrical Code Professional. So there was a lot of work that went into that program and the concept. And again, it's tough. If you thought the fast tracks was tough, this is tough. Really, because it's time management. And that's the biggest thing that I tell people. When you get to be a master and you start owning your company, the hardest thing that people need to learn, it's not the code. It's not doing the work. It's time management. How do you balance your family, your work, your peace of mind, and how do you balance everything and continue to invest in yourself? And that's what we're doing, right? We're investing in ourselves. We have to take care of everybody around us, but at the end of the day, we can become pretty shallow in ourselves if we don't have something to invest in. If we don't have something that's right around the next corner, something for us to look forward to. Again, not to get religious, but people ask me, believing in something, I don't care, okay, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, monk, whatever. At the end of the day, if you don't believe in at least something, then what's tomorrow bringing? Well, what are we here for? Are we just here to just suck oxygen until we die? So you have to believe in something. Whatever you want to believe in, you believe in it. But again, I have to be constantly doing something. I have to be constantly thinking of stuff. My mind doesn't stop working, right? So at the end of the day, I would think you're pretty similar with that thought. And you have to keep doing something and keep moving and keep that type of stuff. Wow, I got sentimental there for a minute. Wow. I shocked myself. I was like, wow, I almost hovered off this chair. I'm just all right. At the end of the day, I'm excited, Jay. So I think we'll be able to do some great things. And in the moment that your wife sends me a message and says that, he's spending way too much time with you, Paul, than with me, we got to cut it. We'll have to do something. We'll have to, okay. So
That's right. We'll work it out.
Work it out. All right,
work it out.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for coming on. And so everybody out there that has been hanging in with us, I appreciate you all. Oh, wait a minute. I have to look and see if I had any. Hold on for a second, Jay.
Of course.
Let me pull up something. Let's see if I had any donors tonight, other than I think I had the one. So that I can do the drawing, because I like to do the drawings for the screwdrivers. So let's see here.
Yeah, those are nice. Can I see that? Can you hold it up one more time?
Yeah, you actually have one coming to you. But hold on, let me.
Yeah, of course.
Those
are neat.
See if I can figure out how to get to this show that I'm doing. Probably would help if I could get to the show. Oh yeah, so where they at? Okay.
Oh, it does. Okay, I was wondering if it had a clip on it, to where you could clip it into
pocket,
like a t-shirt pocket. Yes.
Pocket clip.
Brilliant.
And all of the bits are in the end of it. And there's 8 of them in there.
So, you know what that reminds me of is, remember when those kids were, and my son had one, those fidget spinners.
Oh,
they were like a fidget spinner that you put on your finger, and it was to keep you occupied. And I could see that being the electrician's fidget spinner in a way, where you're just staying active, so you're rocking it back and forth, and having a tune in your head and going at it. And so, yeah, if I get one, I'll definitely use it.
Yeah, I got it coming. So now there's Ronbo donated tonight again. Thank you, Ronbo.
Way to go.
He prolifically donates, and it's very helpful. He probably single-handedly pays for all the shipping for most of the things that go on here. So thank you, Ronbo. It's a great guy. And then Joseph, I don't know if Joseph's still on here, but I'm not. We'll remember it and get him. So ball that up, throw that in the hat. Rombo, ball that up, throw that in the hat. All right, I'm going to shake it up a little bit. All right. And I'm going to go down in here and pull a name out. Hey, Matthew said he got his screwdriver. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew donated to us. You wouldn't believe this. Ronbo! Boy, he won last night, too. Or Wednesday night, yeah. Ronbo. So, Ronbo, you got a flashlight coming. And now you've got you have another screwdriver. So, you got a screwdriver and another flashlight. A screwdriver and flashlight coming. So, there you go. All right. So, that's a donation.
Good job, Ronbo.
Yeah, he did it. So, if anybody wants any of the screwdrivers, And the flashlights are coming, should be in any day now. And then we got the little log books that are coming. They're pretty cool too. So they'll be coming in as well. So again, as people say, Paul sells out for the merchandise, but again, it helps pay the bills and helps keep the free stuff going. So
and
Matthew
it's actually
got
pretty
his.
cool.
Yeah, and Matthew got his. He's going to be breaking his in. So cool. All right, that's it. I got nothing else. So again, Jay, appreciate you. And
thanks for having me.
Yep, and you hang on there for a second. I'm going to end this show. Everybody, take it back to me. Thank you all. I'm excited that we're going to have Jay with us. So coming up in other episodes, and again, great topics. We appreciate all of you that come to the show and share it all over the place. Again, let them know about the show. Let electricians at the supply house everywhere. Let them know. Send in your topics for me and Jay. If you've got a topic you want us to have a talk about on a future show, please feel free to send it in to us and we'll bring it up and have a discussion on it. It's always good to have a lively discussion. Maybe the next one we'll have is about our favorite brands. We'll find out what Jay's folks use in the field. I'm guessing they use Milwaukee, but I'm just guessing. So we'll see what they use. He seems like a Milwaukee guy, okay? But I don't know. He might be DeWalt. Who knows? We'll see. But that'll be upcoming episodes, folks. Till next time, stay safe and God bless.
You're listening to Electrician Live with your host, Paul Abernathy and Jay Grundberg.